What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to basketball, and more importantly, welcome back to our season preview series. This is a series where I'm breaking down all 30 NBA teams before the start of the regular season, and now it's kind of the dead point in the basketball calendar. There's not a lot of people looking into basketball. They're watching football or other things right now, and that's totally fine. But if you're a basketball sicko like me, you're trying to get ready for the season. It's not that far away now. You want to take a look at your favorite team and all the other teams around the association so that you can be prepared for what's to come this year. And in this video, we're going to be covering the Orlando Magic. Play that song.
Orlando Magic, Orlando Magic, Orlando Magic.
Oh, you gotta love it. But anyway, we're going to be talking about what the Magic looked like last year. We'll set some goals for this season. We'll talk about their offseason. It was a pretty eventful one. We'll do a complete roster breakdown where we take a look at players' salaries, where the team salary cap falls right now, options for trades, and then we'll take a look at some draft assets as well. We'll cover rotations and lineup ideas, and then finally finish off with a standings prediction at the end of the video. But before we get into all that, make sure that you guys like, subscribe, and comment. I've responded to every single comment to my YouTube channel up to this point, and I intend to keep on doing so. I want to have the conversations with you guys. That's why I do this stuff. But as always, go watch the other season previews here. As I mentioned, it's kind of the dead point in the year, so there's not a ton of people coming to these videos, but I want to have something for every fan base to kind of get you started for the season, so you boys pumping out the content, and there's even more videos than you even see on the screen right now because I pre-record all of these. But anyway, let's go talk about the Magic. Play the song one more time. That song cracks me up every time, man. I'm not even a Magic fan. But anyway, that brings us back to the season preview spreadsheet. For those of you that don't know, I like to build these spreadsheets to kind of help articulate and visualize the stories that I'm telling here on YouTube. And you can actually get access to these spreadsheets if you want. It's really, really simple. And please listen to the instructions, because believe it or not, I say it in every video, but there's still always people asking me in the comments or coming into the Discord with comments. This is what you do. Go down into the description of this video. You'll see a link to go join my Discord. Click that. It's completely free. And then you go over to the announcements channel on the Discord, and you'll see a link to download the spreadsheet. I'm updating it every single day so that we can try to keep the most current information in there at all times. And so just go back and download a new copy whenever you need it. But anyway, the Orlando Magic. I'm not going to play the song after every single thing, but we'll sprinkle it in whenever we can. The Magic were in this kind of interesting place last year, right? They've got this little young nucleus of guys, and they had kind of started to set a bit of an identity for themselves. It's like, hey, hard-nosed defensive group. That's what we do, which is great. That's what you kind of want out of a young and growing team or whatever. And season starts off, we're like, okay, Paolo Banchero, Franz, Suggs. Let's see what these boys are able to do together. Let's see if we can kind of really take a leap this year. And Paolo gets hurt like at the beginning of the season, and he's out for a while. And we're like, oh man, that sucks. And Paolo's about to come back. Franz goes down. Suggs went down as well. Mo Wagner was out for the year. It was just, oh my goodness, like injuries upon injuries, and like at not even like overlapping times either. So it's just like, man, these guys were never together. It was kind of unfortunate, and that did hurt this team's record. And this team had some flaws going in that we were aware about as well. The kind of lack of playmakers that we observed on this team was a big thing. This team struggles to score a ton, a lack of shooting, all of that stuff. But it was like, hey, we're trying to grow with this young group, so not everything has to be perfect right now, but ultimately the team finished out 41-41, got to the playoffs, and we saw a lot of great stuff out of Paolo at the end of the season, which I thought was really, really encouraging. It was great to kind of see him really start to take over and be like, all right, I got to be that dude, right? But anyway, 41-41 this last year. I've got this team as a growing team right now. If you're new to this series, basically there's 5 different categories that you can fall into as a team. You've got selling teams. Those are teams actively trying to blow up their roster and kind of reset. Rebuilding teams trying to find kind of those young players that they want to start to build around, if you would. The growing teams, meaning you've found those guys. Honestly, this might be one of the more fun stages to be in as a team, because it's like, all right, you drafted these guys and they look like they're going to be pretty good, and so you kind of get to watch them grow up. Right now, this team's not a contender yet by any means. These guys are young. Most teams don't start winning championships until their best players are about 26, 27 years old. That's when people kind of start to hit their prime, and again, that's when you start to win. But we're in the growing stage right now, so we're trying to grow up with these guys and put the right players around them. Contending teams obviously like in contention right now, they're actively trying to win a championship. And then we got the who the fuck knows category, because some teams we're not quite sure what their plan is and what they're trying to do, so they fall into that. You'd much rather be in any of these 4 categories than that one, because these kind of flow into each other naturally. That one, I don't know. So young team, growing, that's what they're doing, right? So let's set some goals for this team. It's pretty simple for this team, right? Because this team has identified some good young players to have on this team. They've brought in some new interesting talent this year, but we obviously have to fix some glaring issues. First thing, motherfuckers gotta learn to shoot. This team had like no shooting whatsoever last year, and look, maybe sometimes we even over talk about the spacing of basketball teams, right? Because everybody thinks like, oh, if this guy can't shoot 39 to 40% and above, that's not good enough. You got to be a good shooter to be like on the basketball court. And yes, we need shooting. This team desperately needed shooting in the worst ways, and they did add a couple this year, but motherfuckers got to learn to shoot too. And I'm looking at some of our best players here, actually all 3 of the kind of the best players, and Franz, Paulo, and Suggs. One of y'all got to learn how to shoot at some point. And yes, if we go and look at some of the charts, yes, Paulo has moments or whatever, and it's this. Averages are still averages for a reason. Motherfuckers can't shoot. So we need young guys to get better at that, and that's okay. They're young guys, right? They're not going to be perfect right now, but we need some of these guys to learn how to shoot the basketball so that we can actually have like a 3-dimensional offense, if you would. Next thing, figure out the center position. That feels like kind of the missing piece to this puzzle right now. Maybe there's 2 missing pieces. Well, if we're setting goals, I guess those are all missing pieces, but you know what? Fuck it. It's Saturday. I can say whatever the hell I want. This team needs to figure out its center position, right? That's kind of the one spot on the depth chart where we kind of go, I'm not completely confident about this one. I'm not completely confident about this one. I'm not completely confident here. They got like 3 solid options there, and that's nice to have, but it'd be great if we could find that spacing center that he doesn't even have to be a great defensive player, because everybody else on this team can play defense, and that's kind of a nice advantage actually. But don't get me wrong, I'd love to have a spacing center that can play defense and like all the other things, right? That'd be awesome, but it feels like we need to find somebody that can really play that spot for this team. And then finally, find or create a primary playmaker. If you guys watched my channel at all last season, we complained a lot about how the Magic didn't really have somebody that can really go create offense for them. I thought Franz took a lot of steps in the right direction last year. We've seen moments of it from Suggs. I'd say Paulo's a decent ways away from it up to this point. We need somebody that can really go like create some offense for this team, because I feel like there's a lot of pseudo creators on this team. Obviously, Desmond Bane has been brought in, and he's become more and more of that kind of guy, but what I envision is eventually somebody that can be like kind of a 3-level threat that can generate offense for everybody else, that you can just go to them and they can just go create offense for you. When you have guys that can't just go to different spots in the court and find a way to make it work, I get concerned, right? Because Paulo on the perimeter doesn't scare me too much right now. Franz, I can drop into drop coverage right now, and I'm going to live with whatever happens with that right now, right? So I don't think that it's impossible to turn any of those guys into it. I don't, and that's why I say find or create a primary playmaker for this group, because we need somebody to actually initiate offense with this group. And if you want to tell me like, oh, those guys are creators right now, then why can't you guys fucking score, right? I know that there's no shooting as well, but it's not there yet, and that's okay, right? Let's try to build one internally, because there's a lot of talent internal already, or we got to go look elsewhere and try to find one. So those are the goals that I have for this team this year, probably pretty similar to what it looked like last year, honestly. And we'll talk about kind of the off season and what they did, because it's interesting, right? It's kind of parallel to these goals, but not quite these goals. But just keep these in mind as we go throughout the rest of the video, because they're going to be important. But let's move on to talking about their off season. Okay, the off season tab right here. If you guys have been watching my channel since like last year when you saw the season preview, you've probably seen this tab before. Basically, we break the off season down into 3 different kind of sections here. You have drafted players, pretty easy to understand what this one is. It's players that were drafted that are going to be on the full-time roster this upcoming season. Player departures, names you have to say goodbye to, whether for good or bad reasons. But these are guys that were on the team at the end of last season that are no longer going to be on the full-time roster this year because they've gone elsewhere. And then players brought in. These are the new guys joining your team, new faces for you guys to learn. You guys brought these in either via free agency or trades, and they are going to be on the full-time roster this season. Let's start off up at the top with the drafted players here. Now, for those of you that don't know, AVC, like, what do you do for work? I run a basketball statistics and analytics company, and one of the things that I do is I usually, once a year, I sign on with, like, an NBA team, and I work for them as, like, a third-party scout that goes and evaluates, like, college players and stuff like that, because that's something I have a lot of experience doing in my career, and I actually made a little video series kind of about that last year where we kind of covered a lot of the top-end talent here, and both Jace Richardson and Noah Penda have videos. So if you want to get caught up and learn about these rookies, you can go watch them there. Those, I don't even get paid for those videos. They're all demonetized because there's a lot of film in them. But I had fun doing them, and the series was a good success. So go watch them. Jace Richardson, let's start off with him. When I just evaluated him as a prospect, let's keep it real from the start. It wasn't someone that I was extremely excited about. I'm like, okay, this is a smaller guard that is not a playmaker right now. This is not a guy that can go create his own shot. He's not efficient when he tries to do that. He's not able to even, he's a lefty shooter, if I remember correctly, and he can't go to his right. I believe that's what it is. Like, dude, motherfucker can't go to his right at all. And it's just not good. It's not good. And defensively, like, gets taken advantage of a little bit, but he's smart because, you know, he's an NBA dad. That'll help you out, right? His dad's Jason Richardson. I'm sure you guys know that or figured that out or whatever. But I struggle with prospects like that, right? Because players like that don't really exist in the NBA anymore. We've kind of worked out of these, like, smaller, like, not quite combo guards, but like twos that don't quite have the ball all that much. But what this guy did do really well is off the ball. He was a very good shooter, and this team needs shooting. He knows how to go get himself open, which is rare, honestly, for younger players. So he's able to come in and hopefully space the floor a little bit. And he ended up on a team where, honestly, his skill set has the best chance to survive, if you would, in the NBA, because there's a bunch of other guys that are going to want the ball on this team. And so he could play the point guard position and guard other teams' point guards, which is good for him defensively, but he doesn't necessarily have to do point guard things on offense or like primary ball handler stuff. So if he was going to have any success in the NBA, I think this is the place that it would be. So good for Orlando for kind of picking that out and giving him a shot there. Noah Penda, a prospect that I like more, actually. Noah Penda, very big, bulky dude coming in from overseas. A lot of French guys coming in as of late. Going to be playing the forward position. He looks like a football player. He looks like a football player, and I like the energy that he plays with. Shown that he can step out and hit a shot if he needs to. He's physical. He's going to get to the rim. He's not like an explosive athlete by any means, but he's not afraid of taking contact or whatever. I don't see many bodies like this come into the NBA, and so that excites me personally as like someone that's done player development before. I'm like, ooh, this could be kind of a fun little, I guess, project to take on. I think that this guy could totally have a future in the NBA as a 3-and-D wing, and I don't know. I just like his energy. I think he's going to fit with the group in Orlando here pretty well, so I'm excited to see what they do with him. I thought that overall the Magic did pretty well in this draft class. Player departures, let's talk about him first. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. You traded for him last year from Denver because you said, oh, we need shooters. Let's go get shooters. And AVC got on the channel right away and said, oh, no, this is not going to work at all. KCP is a guy that works off of playmakers, and you didn't have any in Orlando last year. It's been very obvious that he needs other guys to like really create for him. And because there was no space, there was nobody to really like set him up for other opportunities this last year. KCP was pretty horrendous on offense last year. Defensively, he was still very good and helped this team be the elite defensive group that it was. It just didn't work for KCP, but you ended up flipping him, and that's totally fine. You got something good for him, so we're not stressed about it. Cole Anthony, one of the few kind of creators on this team, a guy that could really go generate some offense, wasn't super efficient, but again, context will say there wasn't a lot of space to work with. There's not a lot of offense in place here on this team, so we'll give some of the lack of efficiency a little bit of a break, but one of the few kind of creators on this team. Again, I think he replaced it with him with better options, so not mad about that. Corey Joseph, a guy that kind of had to assume that playmaker role at one point last year. Corey Joseph was kind of the starting point guard for this group by the end of the season. Again, Suggs is injured, but he was out there merely because he can move the ball around. He'll hit an open three. It's not a high percentage, but he'll hit it, and he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. That's what he was out there to do, is just be a veteran, kind of stable force for a young team, and he will not be back this season. I don't think that's a huge deal one way or another. Gary Harris, a guy that I was kind of stunned how many minutes he was getting on this team at points last year. Defensively, very good, more than competent, but again, everybody on this team could play defense. So, like, we don't need any more, like, inbreeding of this. We need people that can, like, score the basketball, and he could not do that last year. There were games where he wasn't even taking shots, and it was like, okay, what is Gary Harris doing on the court for us right now? We need to go find a way to get some shooting. So him being gone, not something that I'm tripping about. And then Caleb Houston was a younger project that you had hoped would turn into kind of a 3-and-D wing, and we just haven't seen it out of him at this point, and he might get a full-time contract in Atlanta this year. We'll see what happens with him, but once upon a time, we envisioned him maybe being that 3-and-D wing, but just hasn't really come together. And again, maybe not put in a situation where he could achieve it, but c'est la vie is what it is. So who'd you bring in? Who are the new people? Well, one, Desmond Bane. This is a good basketball player right here. Basically, the Grizzlies hit an interesting point during the offseason where, at least from my understanding of things, one, internally, they're like, hey, this Ja and, like, Bane thing doesn't really seem to necessarily be going anywhere. Like, we haven't seen anything between the two where it's like, okay, like, this is going to really be, like, a good thing for them. Obviously, they hadn't gotten a chance to play together very much either, but Bane's kind of going in a different direction as a player. We forced him to become more of a playmaker. He's got the ball a lot more, creating some offense a little bit more for his team. Obviously, 3-and-D is his bread and butter. He can step out and shoot. That's great. That sounds like the perfect player for Orlando to have, right? A guy that has some playmaking skills. Again, not a primary guy, but he can do some of it. He'll definitely move the ball around. He can still play defense, and he can shoot. That's great, but the Grizzlies also hit the problem where they needed to extend Jaren Jackson Jr. It was kind of a business decision, so they're like, okay, yeah, we're kind of okay with trading Desmond Bane here so that we can do that now. So you ended up moving KCP, Cole Anthony, and a couple picks to get Desmond Bane, which, look, at the time, people were like, is Desmond Bane really worth 3, like, first-round picks? Because I believe it was 3, right? And I came on and said, like, well, remember, you're also getting off of Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who was a very much a net negative for you this last year, and Cole Anthony was like, kind of meh for people, so you had to pay other people to take him, and you got a good player. I think it was an awesome trade. I love it. It's not exactly what you need, in my opinion, but it's a substantial upgrade. Like, again, I would have been looking for more of the pure, like, point guard, if you would. I'm trying to describe the player that I'm looking for this team that is truly, like, a 3-level shot creator, move the ball around a little bit more, but this is a big time upgrade. I'm not going to complain about it either. I think it's a great addition to the team. And then speaking of playmakers, I mean, you don't get much better at playmaking than Tyus Jones does. Tyus Jones, known for his assist to turnover ratio, moves the ball around a ton, does not make a ton of mistakes. Defensively, was in the garbage last season. Historically, that's not the case. The Phoenix Suns were just all over the place defensively and honestly just game plan wise last year. So I want to look at that as an anomaly more so than anything else. But what I think most people don't realize is Tyus Jones has become a pretty good shooter in the past couple of years. He's above 40% this last year, and what's nice about him is, despite kind of being a point guard, he doesn't have to have the ball to go get those shots. Plenty of his shots are coming from moving, like catch and shoot opportunities and such, because he was playing with Beal, Devin Booker, and Durant, right? So there's no reason we can't come here, put the ball in some of our star players' hands, like Bane, Suggs, Banchero, Franz, and Tyus Jones can be a really nice piece to that puzzle. Again, I don't think it's the perfect solution, but I don't think it's a bad one either. So what I'm kind of trying to summarize here is, I think Orlando had a good offseason. I like the players you drafted. I think that those are nice picks for the team, right? I'm not mad about anybody you lost, and I like the people you brought in. Again, it's just not perfect, right? I'm giving it a B. Nuance is good to have nowadays, right? I think a lot of us look at things as either good or bad, and I would just say, like, this was fine, right? This was a very fine offseason. Like, I give it like a B plus, right? Maybe not the A plus in my mind, but I think that this was definitely helpful and a step in the right direction. So I hope that that's clear. But anyway, let's go talk about the rest of the roster. Okay, the roster breakdown tab. If you've been on my channel for any amount of time, you've definitely seen this tab before. I really like this one because we can kind of get this all-encompassing look at a team, whether it's breaking down the roster, the player salaries with some stats behind them. You've got the team salary cap outlook. Here you've got some draft picks to take a look at. And then the thing that nobody ever gets mad about ever is the depth chart here, which honestly, like, looking better and better by the day for this team, but it's complicated nonetheless. But let's start off with kind of the current roster. We always start off by explaining, hey, what are these numbers right here? If you're new to the video series, I want to make sure I'm explaining things to you. So basically, These are EPM numbers. They stand for estimated plus minus. What is that? It's basically a really, really advanced statistic that we have that tells you how good somebody is at offense, defense, and then overall as a basketball player. I then take those numbers and like normalize them or index them so you get the 0 to 100 scores. 0 being the worst at something, 100 being the best at something. And now, because I'm the guy that owns a basketball statistics company, I always got to be the one to tell you stats don't tell a perfect story ever. There's always context missing in things, so you need to have good critical thinking and people that can look at the entire context of something and say, okay, maybe this guy wasn't very good last year, Mr. Jet Howard, is 6th percentile overall in the NBA, but why was that? Was he in a situation that didn't work for him? Was he missing some creators or something? Was the defensive scheme not good for him? And look, you might still come to the same answer, but it's important to have all the context and you don't just say stats, right? Critical thinking's on the decline in our world. Let's be the people that kind of try to bring that back. But anyway, starting off at the top, Franz Wagner. Wow, what a player this guy has become, right? It's been awesome to watch him. I loved watching him in Eurobasket this summer. Franz just seems to get better and better and better the more that we watch him, and we're going into year 5 now. We got a little big boy contract right now, right? We got extended. We got 5 years of Franz now. This is what you want out of your draft picks, man. You want them to become good basketball players. Now, is Franz perfect? No, but this guy was the best player on your basketball team last year. He just was, and that's when the people go, AVC, but Paolo Banchero was the first. I know. Maybe it'll be Paolo one day. It's Franz right now, though, dude. And that's a good thing to say because Paolo's good. Paolo's good, but Franz is awesome. Defensively, yep, everybody on this team can basically play defense, right? You see all the numbers right here. All the guys that matter can play fucking defense. That's awesome. Franz took a big step forward in a lot of ways offensively, but there's still some flaws. The hitch in the jump shot is back. The shot is not falling, right? And yes, there were some injuries this last season and everything. That's an issue. We'd still like to see some of the creativeness get a little bit better, but we saw a lot of the assist numbers go up, saw some turnover percentages go down. That's great. Let's just keep trying to build on it, right? We're still a younger guy getting and finding his way into the league. If we can just find a way to be a shooter, maybe a better pick and roll player, guy like that, then we're here. Now we're towards the top, right? Now we're towards the top, and we have a super elite player. We got to keep building on these guys. Don't be satisfied with them. Already talked about Desmond Bane a little bit. Jalen Suggs, also on a big boy contract now. Unfortunately, got hurt pretty early on in the season. I don't want to go into his numbers too much. They weren't necessarily very good on the offensive end last year. Defensively, he was elite, as he always was. But overall, it's a pretty small sample size. We do need this guy to really come in and try to be somewhat of a point guard and playmaker, and I don't think that's the natural thing for him to do. I think where he's at his best is maybe playing off ball a little bit more. Again, I've seen the shimmer. I've seen the shimmer before. What was it? It must have been 2 years ago in the playoffs now where I kind of saw some of it. I'm like, okay, we might be able to grab something out of this, but I still kind of hold my theory that he's going to be best off without the basketball, just being an elite defensive stopper that's spacing the floor, running around screens, things like that, and becoming a better shooter, obviously. But Jalen Suggs, great basketball player. If things aren't looking good for him and Bane's playing well at some point in the year, don't be surprised if Suggs' name gets floated around in some trade rumors, right? Because you gotta make people fit. If you're going to be paying these many guys this much money, you got to pay Paolo soon. Well, you already have paid Paolo, but somebody's got to go, right? Somebody's got to go. It's just like Bane in Memphis, right? Yeah, let's talk about Paolo Banchero. Got hurt really early on in the season, had to kind of work his way back, and at the end of the season, things really started to ramp up for him, right? He really started to kind of find his way, and that's amazing. Still not much, again, of a playmaking guy. He can move the ball around because he attracts a ton of attention, and that's great, but right now his operating area is pretty small. His ability to go kind of create for himself isn't the greatest, but because he's so talented and skilled, he is able to get some shots off and make them fall. Again, got to work on efficiency. He's young. It's not a big deal. I hope it's not coming off too critical of these guys. I'm being critical because there's so much greatness within these guys that we have to pull it out, right? And that's what good coaching is. And I know some people on the internet get so upset when you say bad things about their favorite players. Guys, coaching is about telling you what you're not so good at and helping you get better at it, right? So that's kind of what we're saying with Paolo. We got to be better at just one. I struggle to say if he's a guy that should just be initiating offense again. Again, he feels like a guy that maybe should be working without the ball a little bit more, and we're giving the ball to maybe Franz and Suggs and Bane, and Paolo is kind of working around the paint, catching the ball or playing in a pick and roll. I don't know exactly. These bulkier, not quite quick big men are a little bit hard to work with sometimes, but I don't necessarily want to give the ball to Paulo right away, and that's not a bad thing. We too many guys want the ball nowadays. I'm not completely sure what to do with him. I'd have to spend some time kind of thinking about that, but overall, just got to get a little bit more efficient, and that's okay. We're excited, man, and this guy should be a multi-time All-Star going forward to pair with Franz. So yeah, we'll see. Let's see if they learn how to shoot. Jonathan Isaac, everybody's favorite defensive specialist. Once upon a time, we figured this guy was going to win a couple DPOYs, dealt with a lot of injuries. He's kind of back now. He seems pretty healthy. He's even got his own shoe out, which is kind of interesting. I've kind of read up on his brand a little bit. Always cool when guys get into little entrepreneurship things like that. Still doesn't contribute much offensively for you. Can't really step out and hit. He's not the greatest around the rim or whatever, but defensively, the dude's a monster, right? The length, the anticipation, the athleticism, it's all amazing, right? It's another hard fit, right? Because it's like, okay, this is another guy that can't shoot. At least he doesn't want the ball at all like some of these other guys do, right? In order to create their offense. Because just a reminder, Franz created most of his offense last year. Bane created most of his. Suggs, it limited, but he did. And so did Paulo. So these are all guys that aren't necessarily receiving anything at all, which tells you that none of them are necessarily connected. And yes, injuries, stuff like that, yada, yada, yada. But I'm just telling you what the stats are right now. My theory is that Jonathan Isaac, if he wants to exist on this team, might have to play more of a big role than a forward role. If he's not going to be able to shoot, I'm kind of cool with just like sticking him at like the center position, honestly, like that, and just seeing what the fuck happens. I think that could be interesting. But anyway, speaking of centers, Wendell Carter Jr., he had a down year last year, y'all. Good defensively. Wendell's always been a good defensive player. Offensively, we were like, okay, maybe this can be kind of the spacing and defensive center that we play next to Paulo and Franz, because we're going to need a shooting big man if we're going to play with these two guys. And the three-point shot fell off a cliff last year. Not very good. We hope that we can find it again. We really, really do. But there's, again, not really a side of his game offensively that's all that exciting to talk about right now. So we hope that it comes back. We hope that it comes back because he just got a contract extension as well, and so we'd like to make it happen. Goga Bitadze, technically a reserve big for this team, but probably the best reserve big you can find in the NBA, and debatably their most impactful big man when you actually play him. Again, Goga got in a lot of instances this last year when a lot of other people were kind of down and injured. But when he came in, not only did he like create some offense for the team, but defensively, man, he was kind of a monster. He's blocking shots, getting a ton of rebounds. He's like setting mean screens, getting around people, contesting everything. He was really impactful when he was out on the court. Again, there's other bigs you tend to play over him, but impact-wise, when he's out there, he's that guy, right? Now the question is if you play him with some of these other guys when they're actually healthy and he doesn't have the ball quite as much, what happens? Again, he had another good Eurobasket showing as well, so shout out Goga. Could be a nice trade chip for this team if, and it's a big if, the right person becomes available, right? Because a lot of teams need bigs. I know the Lakers would love to have him. Anthony Black, younger dude for this team, kind of came into the NBA as a big point guard, known to be kind of a defensive player. The Magic fans all have Alfred Payton flashbacks thinking of him, but if you're a Magic fan, I presume you kind of like Anthony Black, and I think Anthony Black is interesting. He doesn't really do anything that you want a creator to do right now, so that kind of takes him out of that whole like point guard conversation. It's not that we're going to quit trying and hoping to develop him in that way, but offensively, it's just not quite happening yet. We've had some decent shooting performances 2 years into his career. It's just in very, very small volume, which is interesting. And by the way, young players, right? It's young players. We're not writing anything in stone right now. I'm just telling you where we're at currently. Defensively, dude's been awesome. Gets hand on ball a lot, keeps people in front of him, makes big defensive plays. So at least there's something to rest your hat on with him right now is that, hey, you put him out, he's going to play good defense. But we have a lot of guys that can do it. We need some motherfuckers to play some offense at some point. Already talked about Tyus Jones. Jet Howard, former lottery pick that just has not been able to get anything going at this point in his career so far. We're 2 years in, not really getting on the court, especially when you're supposed to be an off-ball shooter, and this team desperately needs that role, and you can't find your way on there. It's a little bit worrying to me, but I got really excited about Jet Howard coming in last year. I saw a lot of the things that he was working on kind of behind the scenes and some of the work that I do. I was really hoping it was going to translate, and it hasn't yet, but we'll stay hopeful. Mo Wagner had a season-ending injury this last year. Obviously, the brother of Franz. We always love when those two get to play together. We really missed seeing him in Eurobasket. this offseason. Mo contributes a lot to this team, especially on the energy end, more so than anything else. When he goes out there, he's a big spark plug, yelling, beating his chest, doing all that stuff. We love energy guys, especially on a defensive team. The guy that's the loudest is probably the most fun, right? More than competent on the defensive end of the basketball court. One of the few guys on this team that was actually at least an average shooter from outside the arc, which is nice. So obviously we want to find a way to get him back on the court this year. Hopefully he's going to be healthy. He's on a new, more team-friendly deal going forward, so that's great. We like Mo. Tristan Da Silva, rookie from this last year. We thought that the pick was fine for them last season. Da Silva, older guy coming in, and mind you, not a great draft class, right? So expectations should be relatively low. But what do we know about him? He's a smart player that could step out and hit threes. That's what he's able to do. He's more of a forward, which we're like, look, this team's got a lot of forwards already, but we need the shooting, so you take the shooting. Last year, motherfucker couldn't shoot, could not contribute really offensively. But here's the thing, like when we talked about this a lot on the channel, obviously, Da Silva, I always felt like he blended in though, which was that's a compliment to a rookie. Like this guy knew where to be, he wasn't out of position ever, so it really wasn't like a big deal at any point, but we just need the shot to fall, right? Because the shot was not falling this last year, but he was always in the right spot. He got open looks, just need the shot to fall. That's an easier problem than kind of teaching the rest of the game of basketball. He played with Franz during the Eurobasket stuff, which is awesome, or whatever. He definitely played more of a role player role on that team. We hope that that can translate. And then already talked about Jace and Noah Penda. This is a good basketball team, y'all. Just looking at the depth, you've got three very solid options at center. You remember me at the beginning saying we don't have that guy, and it doesn't seem like they have that guy, but they've got a lot of options, and there's not a lot of big men to go around, so we'll take that. You have a lot going on at the forward spot, man, between Paulo, Franz, Isaac, Da Silva. You hope to be growing Penda and stuff, right? You'd like to think you don't just give up on Jet Howard. Like, that's the skill set and player you need on this team. Bane can play there as well. There's a ton going on at that position. Maybe even too much. Maybe you got to trade the depth and turn it into something else. When we take a look at guards, Bane, great addition to the team, right? Jace Richardson, we'll see how much he kind of gets in this year, right? And then if we're looking at just primary ball handler, we've got pseudo guy here, 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 and Anthony Black, and then you got Tyus Jones. Good option, not again the perfect option, but you got a lot going on here. I'm just not sure if it's the right balance of things. You don't want, because I see something in Orlando Magic, like we'll call it like Twitter or online space sometimes. They'll be like, hey, this guy can't play for the Magic, he can't play defense. We have to have guys that can play defense only. That's great, and that's ideal. You also need diversity in good teams. You need to have diversity. You've got enough good defensive players where you can take a not as good defensive player and put them around them, and you'll probably see their defensive numbers go up because they're like, oh, I've got all these motherfuckers around me that are going to keep me cool, so I just got to do my role. Things are going to work out. It just feels like this team needs some diversity, right? I like some of the new additions, but it doesn't quite feel complete to me, and I worry about Orlando as to whether or not they'll be able to find the right people for that. But anyway, let's go talk about their salary cap situation. If you're new to the channel or just don't know how the salary cap works, 4 levels to it that you got to know about. First, the cap line itself. This team has crossed that. That's why that's why it's at 0 right now. That basically means that this team can't sign anybody other than their own players to anything more than a minimum contract. That's all that really means. The luxury tax line, that's the scary one. Once you cross this one, which this team has, that's why it's at a 0, that's when your team gets a lot more expensive to operate. We got kind of a big boy team right now, right? 2 of our better younger players are on real contracts now, not the rookie ones, so we're a luxury tax team. That means the clock starts, because every year that you spend in that luxury tax, that interest compounds and compounds and compounds and gets more and more and more until you're the Boston Celtics and you pop and you got to trade some people, right? So kind of on the clock now with this group. Then we have the first and second aprons. If you want to read everything about these, you can pause the video. I've got them kind of up on the screen here if you're curious, but basically these are newer things that the NBA put in place to kind of balance out things around the NBA and stop star players from being traded quite as much. All you need to know is the deeper you go into these aprons, the less assets that you basically have to work with throughout the year. You can't trade these guys anymore. You can't sign these types of players. You can't use this exception anymore. You lose access to these draft picks or whatever. And so if you're going to be in those aprons, you just better be very, very confident that you've got a great basketball team, because otherwise it gets really hard to work there. And for all we know, some of these guys start to win the right accolades and stuff like that, you might find yourself in these aprons already. So we're starting to get there. And look, it's a good basketball team, right? That's going to happen, but got to make sure it's the right team. Draft pick wise, this team's doing pretty good, especially for a team that just unloaded a bunch of picks over to the Grizzlies to go get Desmond Bane. Obviously, you have a lot of talent on this depth chart as well. Sometimes when I take a look at these picks, people are surprised that I'm not like freaking out about it a little bit more, but I'm like, look, if you don't have picks and you also don't have talent, that's one thing. And by the way, this team's got like plenty of draft assets. Like, I want to make it clear, I love how many like second round picks they have, because as this team gets more and more expensive, you want these second round picks to fill out the back end of your roster with little cheap guys like this on your team. That's going to help you out a ton. But I don't trip about the fact that this younger team doesn't have a ton of draft picks. You got young players to build around already, and if you needed to move people for any reason, you'll get draft picks back. That, at least hopefully, that's how it works in negotiations and stuff. So I think that this team's done a good job in terms of asset management and at least withholding value, right? Again, we're going to keep talking about diversity with this team. But regardless, I want to move on to the trade portion of this video, where we're going to try to find a little bit more shooting for this team somehow, some way. I'm not exactly sure where it's going to come in. Maybe we'll try to figure out the center position as well. But yeah, let's move on to the trade portion of the video. And that brings us back here to Fanspo. Fanspo, for those of you that don't know, really, really cool website where I do like mock trades, mock drafts, build out all this cool shit in the background. It's awesome. Here's the problem. Fanspo is a free website, which is great for us, but because of that, my theory is the people that run it don't actually, or they're not that incentivized to come in and update things all the time. And what do I mean by that? The rookies aren't like on here, and their numbers aren't completely accurate in their trade machine. And this is not us shitting on Fanspo. This is just us pleading like, hey, can you please update your machine so that we can like play with it and use it in our videos? We really like to. But instead, we're going to use Spot Track. They've got an NBA trade machine that you can use. It's not as good as Fanspo. It's not as intuitive either to use, but they at least keep their numbers up to date. So there you have it. Anyway, let's talk trades right here. So we talked about a couple things. It'd be nice to have a primary creator as a point guard. And I feel like I keep saying this team is good, but there's kind of like three main areas I feel like they need to focus on. It's like, yes, you've built a good basketball team, but it feels like all the talent is kind of concentrated into the same roles, right? And so that's why I'm saying diversity. I want to give it half a season, right, with these two here, with Paulo and Franz as well, to be like, okay, can we get enough offense going with these guys to where we can kind of skip finding the what we'll call a true point guard for this group, right? Because I'm down to keep trying with these guys. They're still young. Let's see if they can figure it out, right? I do think we need to address the center position, see if we can't find something there. And I'd like to add a little bit more shooting off the bench, because it's like iffy there, nothing. I mean, he didn't shoot last year. We hope he can shoot. Jet Howard hasn't been able to shoot so far in the NBA. Jace Richardson, he's a rookie. Black, not really. Tyus, sure, yeah, kind of. And there's not much shooting just to go around on this team in general. So need to find some shooting for this group. Where are we going to do that? I'd like to try to find the center first. And I'm not gonna lie, I've got ideas that I think are interesting, but let's take a look around. Okay, this is honestly the first one that I'm thinking about is Nikola Vucevic right here. Hear me out. It's 1 year. Vucevic is a bit of an Iron Man, and yes, I know he's been with Orlando before, and honestly had some pretty good success, or great success, honestly, with Orlando back in the day. I know you look at him and you're like, oh, AVC, he's bad in the pick and roll coverage. You're talking about it all the time. He's not a good defensive big man. Nikola Vucevic has been a good big man in the NBA before. Yes, he can't guard a pick and roll to save his life, and it's a little bit frustrating at times, but you have other good defensive players around him, like Orlando's done with him in the past. He's more than serviceable. Like, he's a fine defender, like on the block and stuff. It's just when people are moving and shit, it becomes a problem. Vucevic is good from behind the arc. He doesn't get hurt ever. Knock on wood that stays the case. 1 year, I don't think that's such a bad idea. And the Bulls definitely want to move him. So let's give him a call and see what we can do here. You don't even have to really give up anything all that crazy to get him, because the market's so dry on him. So let's turn on trade deadline mode. Let's move Mr. Nikola Vucevic over here. What are the Bulls going to want? They're going to want interesting young players, shit like that. Oh, if you sent Wendell Carter back to them, that would be absolutely diabolical. We're not going to do that. We're going to send, well, Jet Howard's almost certainly going to be a part of this. Like, good young player, whatever, you do something like that. Who else do you send over to make the money work? You really don't need Isaac. You really don't. Do the Bulls want him, though? Probably not. You could send Goga over, and that probably financially makes it work. No? Really? Orlando is hard capped by the first... Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot, because we're a more expensive basketball team now. That's why you had to make these trades earlier, man. We were talking about it all last year. We couldn't believe the Magic didn't make more moves last year. It didn't make sense to me. Yet last year was the year to really make a lot of the moves. There's also the Kobe White conversation. I actually can tell you for a fact, and I don't like to give away too much of the stuff I know in the background. Like, the Magic tried very hard to get Kobe White last year, and I think that was more of the creator that they probably could have used on their team, and the Bulls were just, like, stupid and did not want to make the deal happen, and I know what the details looked like, and it was more than fair, in my opinion. So, whatever. It is what it is. Okay, so how can we... We're still short on quite a bit of money. So instead of Goga, it is going to have to be a Jonathan Isaac or something, which, whatever, not the biggest deal. You send out both of these guys. I know some Magic fans will be like, no, AVC, not Jonathan Isaac. I love him. I don't give a fuck. I want to get you a big man here. The problem is, like, then you have, like, too many of these other big men on here. So, like, in all honesty, like, could it be like a Wendell Carter or something? That doesn't financially work, does it? Nope. We're off by just a little bit. Just a little bit. So it would have to be something like this, which isn't ideal, right? It really isn't. I feel like you could always bring in Brooklyn, reroute Jonathan Isaac there. Send something else back to Chicago. I just hate how I have to, like, reset this every time. It's so annoying. So let's get them. Let's get Brooklyn. Let's get the Magic back into this, and let's see what we can't build out here. So now, trade deadline mode on again. Let's move Vucevic over to Orlando. You get your spacing center. Hooray! Jonathan Isaac, I'm sending you to Brooklyn. Jet Howard, your young wing that the Bulls can fuck around with and not get anything out of. So we'll do that. And then, fuck it, you can send like Terrence Mann to Chicago or something like that. He's on a shorter term contract here. So there you go. Jonathan Isaac is more valuable than Terrence Mann is, and he's a little bit cheaper. That's fine. It's less years, which is better for the Bulls, right? They get an interesting young player to kind of work with and develop. Here, the Magic get Vucevic, and they only take on a little bit more money, which is good. And if you don't like him after the year, you don't have to bring him back anyway. But he's still a very productive player, so I could see something like this kind of taking place, honestly. I don't even really know what you'd have to put in pick-wise. Maybe like second round pick to Chicago or something like that, because they have to take on Terrence Mann as well. So yeah, I kind of like that. Okay, let's try to find some shooting. Now, how can I find some shooting? What position would I like the shooting to be at? Just taking a look at like the depth, we could use a shooting wing or forward probably, right? So let's take a look at forwards first and see what we can find shooting wise. By the way, who are we even trading to make this happen? We could trade Wendell. Wendell's an option, so I'm just going to list his money here as an example. Could be him. It could totally be Jonathan Isaac. It could be Goga. I would trade Tyus Jones if the right things were becoming apparent between like Suggs and Black and like Bane and guys like that. Jet Howard, totally a guy we can move. Okay, I think those are probably the numbers. So the most we could kind of send out is 15-ish million. Okay, let's take a look around there then and see what we could find. Duncan Robinson would be cool. Denny, wow, if you could get Denny, that'd be great. But that's probably not going to happen. Corey Kispert, interesting. That's probably too long of a contract, but I don't think that's such a bad option. Grant Williams, not exactly what I'm looking for. Dodo would be sick for this team, but there's no way they're giving him up. Neesmith would be cool. Royce, not a bad option. But there's no way we can send over like a Jonathan Isaac to them. No, that's just not going to work. They can't take on more money. Sam Hauser, okay. How can we get Sam Hauser to work? Because Boston needs to take on less money if they're going to move him, and it's got to be like a decent amount. So we could do like a Tyus Jones or something, but we don't have a lot of flexibility to work with either because we're going to be capped at the apron. So, 10 million versus like 7-ish million, maybe. Let's just kind of walk this through really quick. And they might not want to send Sam Hauser to us, but they don't have a choice, right? They need somebody to sell Sam Hauser to, and that's a part of the Anthony Simons logic as well, as the Celtics just need less money on their books this year, otherwise they're fucked. So taking a look at this, let's move Hauser over to Orlando, and let's just say it's Tyus Jones going back, right? And then we're off by about 1.8-ish still, so what do I do? What do I do? Do I send Jet Howard? It's going to always have to be Jet Howard thrown into something, isn't it? So I could reroute him over to Brooklyn or something. That's no big deal. Boston gets back like something else here. Let's build it out again. It's so annoying to me that you have to do it like this every time. Okay, these three teams. Let's see if we can build this out. Trade deadline mode. On. I would like it on. Sam Hauser, send him over to Orlando. We get an absolute lethal shooter. A lethal shooter. High quantity too, doesn't need the basketball. Orlando, we are sending... Honestly, it'd be nice if we could just dump Jonathan Isaac over there again. So, this might be able to help them out on two fronts, even. No, let's not do that right now. So, we're sending out... Tyus to the Celtics. They save like $3-ish million here, which they need to do. And then, why am I sending Anthony Black there? That's not what I need to do. Where are we at with this deal now? They need to ship something out here. I need to ship out, I guess it is just Jet Howard. I was trying to see if there's another way to do it, but all right, Brooklyn gets interesting young player, cool. What are you guys sending out is like another thing with this. Haywood Highsmith, no. Zaire Williams, no. It's got to be someone like cheap. You could just send him back to Boston and maybe they waive him or something like that. Where does this fail? It can't take on more salary than it's sending out. Ooh-wee. That makes things so tough, doesn't it? These guys aren't guaranteed contracts right here. Are all these guys even still on the team? Did Drew Timme get cut yet? I don't necessarily know. I don't believe Jalen Wilson's guaranteed, so you send him over to Boston right now, and they can just waive him more so than anything. So Celtics actually save more money than this. They get an interesting young player. We get Sam Hauser. It's not a bad option. It's really not a bad option. It's not a perfect framework, and there's got to be some price and draft compensation in there, but I think this is kind of the makings of it. Again, this is all in the idea of adding just some shooting, and that is one thing Sam Hauser could do, and you're not moving Tyus unless you believe the playmaking is solid kind of from some of the other guys on the team. But those are just some trade ideas to kind of get you guys thinking for what this team should be looking for this year. With that being said, let's move on to the rotation. The rotation, question mark. I always put the question mark here because, look, I'm not in the practices, I'm not in the training camps, yada, yada, yada. You guys have heard the spiel like 27 times now at this point. Wow, we're almost at the end of this series. That's crazy. But I just say this because, look, a lot of like these practices and stuff are when these rotations are kind of set. I've built this just based off of the basketball I watched last year. Obviously, these minutes here are ideally averages, and the EPM numbers over here, if you're curious, they're just these numbers, but now we're weighting them by how many minutes are being played by people. So our main four guys right here, Paolo, Franz, Bane, and Suggs, they're all playing 32 plus minutes. I got to see if these guys can play together. I really do. Like, these guys have to figure it out, because right now it's not very clear how Franz and Paolo play off each other. We have Bane's new to the group, obviously. Suggs, we have to figure out how he works with them. We're paying all these guys too much money to not see if they're going to be able to work together, so they got to be out on the court a substantial amount of time. Otherwise, I don't have anybody playing starter level minutes. Wendell Carter, I have him literally splitting time with Mo. If presuming Mo's going to be healthy and ready to go, I'd rather have him out there than Goga right now, because I just think he plays really well with Franz, and I think they complement each other well. Anthony Black, going to continue to develop him because he is an interesting young talent on this team. I'm giving him more minutes than Tyus, but I could see early on Tyus getting more minutes than him. Then I got Jonathan Isaac out there. I do want to use him as more of a big this season rather than a forward, because we just have so much kind of going on at that position. And so kind of an alternate look to where if Mo and Wendell aren't necessarily working, just have him kind of hang around the dunker spot and just play great defense. De Silva, I got him out there kind of at the end of quarters and stuff right now. Just there's not enough of him to where I can play him over some of these other guys right now, right? But we'll hope. We'll keep hoping that he grows. Moving over to lineups then. This is where I kind of freeball it a little bit more. I come up with 3 lineups that I want to see teams kind of use throughout games for different reasons. First one, give them room. we need shooting, right? We need shooting on this team. This is a way to try to get some shooting for Paulo and Franz out there. Obviously, Bane, that's why you brought him in. Tyus, that's why you brought him in. Mo's the most recent one that's shown he can show some life from beyond the three-point arc, so we're throwing him out there with him. And anytime I can get Mo and Franz on the floor together, I just like it. But yeah, it's a lot of the new faces here kind of playing with those guys. The defensive numbers do drop a ton, but now all of a sudden might have an okay enough offensive team. New center, this is where I'm talking about. Jonathan Isaac, I want to try him out at center a little bit more this year and see what we got. I've got De Silva playing more of a wing here, kind of like what he did in Eurobasket more, so we'll see if he can kind of be a floor spacer with them. Otherwise, I've got Paulo playing with Suggs here. We're going to kind of see how that combo works out, and Anthony Black doesn't have to do like too much creation if he doesn't need to. This is obviously a much better defensive group than some of the other ones, but I kind of like this one. So yeah, just an idea I kind of want to try. Final one, and there's like dogs like fighting outside right now. I'm gonna give them a second to figure out what they're doing. Motherfucking dogs, man. Look, I like dogs. I really do. Not while I'm trying to record, y'all. I'm trying to do something right now. Now I have Franz creates. This is trying to turn Franz into a little bit more of a creator. So again, pairing him with Suggs, so there's a little bit of balance here. We got Tyus here, so if shit falls apart, hopefully he can run the ship a little bit more. But again, he'll be able to be a point guard that doesn't need the basketball. Playing him with his brother Mo as well. So we got a couple of bigs out here that could hopefully step out and potentially hit a shot, but I don't know. I want Franz to do a lot of the creating with this group, so that's kind of the idea with him right now. Honestly, a pretty good lineup overall. Wow. Yeah, just a lot of solid going on here. But anyway, those are just my ideas. I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts. I say we move on to the prediction part of the video where I tell you where I think the Magic are going to finish the year. Y'all know how this works. Basically, I'm going to click this button right here, and the Magic are going to appear wherever I think they're going to finish this season. Now, we only got 2 teams left in the East. Bucks, Magic. The Celtics, we just revealed them as the 4 right here. And by the way, you guys have seen a Warriors video already. I haven't actually finished making that video yet because stuff still needs to happen, so I'm recording a little bit out of order here. But anyway, we're here to talk about the Magic. Play the song one more time before we do the drum roll.
Orlando Magic, Orlando Magic, Orlando Magic. Whoa.
I didn't play that enough during this video. Damn it, play it again. All right, that's enough of that. We're here for the standings prediction. All right, drum roll, please. Where are the Magic going to be? Are they going to be the 3? Are they going to be the 9? Yeah, I got them as the 3. I kind of figured you guys anticipated that one. I think the Magic are going to make a bit of a jump this year. I believe they were like 7th seed or something. Last year were they 8? I don't remember exactly what they were. Were they 6? Fuck, I don't remember exactly what they were, but with health, right, like with any team, we hope that this team will be healthy this season, and I think that they'll be pretty damn good. At the very least, their defense should be monstrous again, and when you have something that you can rely on that much, you can win a lot of basketball games. You just got to teach this team a bit of offense, right? Younger group continues to get better. I think the 3 seed is kind of where you're going to see them. I don't think they're quite in the Cavs and Knicks category, but like Magic, Pistons, kind of 2 growing teams right now. I got some question marks with the Celtics and Hawks right now. I got some scrappier teams down here, and then all these teams down here that piss me off. But anyway, I appreciate y'all as always. Thank you for watching. Let me know where you think teams are going to finish down below. I'm always curious to hear. But speaking of your comments, let's move on to the comments of the video. Alrighty, y'all, comment of the video is coming from our Pelicans season preview video right here. Always having fun with the thumbnails. We got big old Zion with his knife and fork. Yes, I know he looks skinny now. That's great. I'm glad he's getting into shape and everything. That's awesome. We need a full season of Zion Williamson. And speaking of his body, B Spur here asked a really interesting question. He said, I know you pre-recorded your video before Zion morphed into Dennis Schroeder. How do you think his play style changes with the weight loss? We've talked about it on the channel before, like with the Luka weight loss, right? I think it's interesting because I've been a person that when I got to like college and was playing, I came in at like 6'5", 220-ish, and because I was like gung-ho about like, all right, I gotta be great, I gotta do all this, I worked out like a ton and I didn't eat nearly enough. I dropped 40 pounds in the first 2 months. So I went from 6'5", 220 to 6'5", 180. And so it took me a while mentally to realize like, hey, I'm not the same player anymore. I tend to be more of like big guard, bully type of player that like when I'm going to the rim, I'm taking a lot of contact. I'm trying to take people up with me or whatever. Then I try to do that when I was slimmer and it didn't work. But all of a sudden I realized, oh wait, I'm a lot quicker now and I'm a lot bouncier now than I used to be. And so I had to change my play style up a bunch. Eventually I settled back and I went to about 215-ish. The coaches wanted me to just be still more of a bulkier guy, so we figured out a way where that kind of worked. But with Zion here, here's the thing. He's going from enormous to still the biggest, if that makes sense. So like, yes, he's like slender now and that's going to fit his body a lot better now. He's more so just like toned, which is great, but he's still bigger than everybody else. He's still stronger than everybody else. So his playstyle is not going to change. Hopefully he'll just be able to move around a lot better and do what he does in a more efficient way. I don't think his playstyle is really going to change, but I really like this question. Thank you very much for that. Always love all the great basketball conversations we're having down here. If you want to have more great basketball conversations, go join the link in the description here, the Discord. It's a really fun place. We're talking hoops all the time. It's also where you can get access to this spreadsheet here. Remember, it's on the announcements channel, and I'm updating it all the time, so just go there and get new copies whenever you need it. But as always, thank you guys. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, do all those things. Share this video with your Nana. Let her know that I'll be by later. But anyway, thank you guys so much. We'll talk later.